Hello and welcome back to Gowerton Parkway. You join me today for a June update. It's going to be a fairly brief update. There's not a great deal of progress been made on the layout, but there's a couple of things I did think I would update you on. There's a couple of pieces of new rolling stock to introduce you to, a couple of little tweaks that have been done around the station area as I start to get that towards a completed state, and also I wanted to share a running shot with you. Now, first thing that I wanted to update you on realistically is that I've actually purchased a new camera for filming the layout with. I decided that it was something I wanted to do to improve the quality of the videos that I bring to you on the channel, and also just to enhance my enjoyment of the hobby and hopefully get into a bit of proper videography with it. So I've gone ahead and purchased myself a Sony AX53, which is what you can see at the moment. It's what you're looking at these images through. And so far my first impressions of it are that it's been very good. I'm getting used to the camera at the moment, so you have to bear with me if there's a couple of dodgy shots, but without further ado I will take you around the little bits and pieces that I've done on the layout, and hopefully this new camera will really enable you to take advantage of the work that I've done and be able to see it through a lot better perspective. One of the main jobs on the station side of the layout that I've carried out is to create the retaining wall that runs behind the station. I've simply done this with cardboard, and I've mounted scale scenes overlays over the top of it. This is just providing a decent backdrop for the time being, so when I run trains by it, it's not just a plain nothingness that it was previously in the last videos that you may have seen. So if I just quickly show you how that's looking, I think, if I'm honest, I'm probably going to look at some point to upgrade this and use plasticard and go for some proper nice hand brushed, dry brushed, weathered effect finish, but for the time being it's absolutely fine. It does the trick, and it just gives me a backdrop for when I'm doing my running videos. You'll notice here that I've recycled some of the billboards, so you got the full focus billboard and the KFC billboard, and they've just gone back up for the time being as I think they're quite interesting. What I'll do also is probably look to refresh those posters, but that is pretty much that update for you on the station area. Above the station I have tried to start tidying up where the back scene runs. I've extended the width of this blue backdrop. Unfortunately, due to the weird shape of the eaves, I can't actually run the road up adjacent with the edge of where the platform canopy is, so I've had to sort of use a bit of a artistic license, as it were, with the back scene and have the back scene start slightly further forward. So I've put in place another piece of wood just to extend the back scene, and I've got a little gap there that you can see between the girder and the retaining wall which needs filling, and I think I've got some leftover bits from when I did this retaining wall kit that I will probably look to offer up and fill that gap, and then hopefully that area of the layout should look fairly complete. I need to try and sort out some of the girders, etc. They need a bit of weathering and dumbing down. They're looking a bit bright and plasticky at the moment, but that's all in good time and that will come shortly. So that's pretty much that. Other than that, the town scene is exactly as it was the last time you saw it. So I've done a little bit more work on the fly tipping scene. As you can see, there's some bin bags been chucked on there. I was going to look at making some, but then I saw an advert pop up on Facebook for a company called Goodwood Scenics. It's not somebody that I've ever heard of or used before, but I ordered these bin bags. They're little resin models, and they're really nice. They're really, really good quality, and looking through their website, there appears to be some really impressive stuff on there, so I might look at getting some other bits and pieces of detail in for the layout. But as you can see there now, we've got a bit of old gates and pallets, a tyre, a bit of old rolled up carpet, we've got gas canisters, etc., and I think that really is sort of adding nicely to that scene. It fits the bill perfectly for what I wanted at the end of the road there. I needed something that I could sort of have an excuse for that road to just peter out, and I was sort of thinking what could I put there that would be realistically found at the end of a rubbishy old lane like this, and that was it, a bunch of rubbish to be fly tipped. So I'll keep adding to that, but at the moment I think it's looking better, and I think those bin bags really do add something to it. The little guy that was dumping it out the van is hiding around the corner. He doesn't want to be caught on camera again like he was in the last video. So that's that for now, and I will take you over to the last piece of progress that I've made on the layout before taking you through some new locomotives that I've received. So one of the other jobs that I've done on the layout is actually to add what we call super elevation to the track. Now, I've only added it on the S-bend part of the layout, which you may remember from previous running videos, but you can see where this Mark III is positioned. Hopefully there's just a slight lean in the coach. Now I've added it only to this S-bend just to give the trains that snake through this area a real sort of decent tilting appearance. So just in case you are unaware of what super elevation is, it's actually where the track is angled slightly, and it helps the trains run through the curves more smoothly. It's almost sort of like banking. Imagine a motorcyclist, if you will, as they slightly tilt as they go around a corner. It adds a similar sort of effect to that to help the passage of vehicles over curves smoothly and slightly more rapidly. So that's what I've put in there. Just to quickly talk you through my methods of how I've done it. It's pretty simple. You probably can't see overly that well, but hopefully it'll become more apparent in the running videos that I'll do a little bit later on and going forward. All I did was just add some shims of plasticard underneath the rails at the closest side to where the curve is. So basically where you've got that Mark III coach on the side nearest us, there's some little shims of plasticard just to add that angle, and on the tracks adjacent to it again on the near side, and then going through the other side of the S-bend, they're on the underneath the rails on the farthest side. So it just creates a tilt. If you could imagine a motorcyclist tilting through an S-bend on his bike, that's the kind of impression that it will give as the trains run through. Now this is something that I've seen done on a lot of American layouts. I watch a lot of American YouTube channels. I find them really useful for model railway stuff. They seem to be quite a long way ahead of us in the UK in some respects with regards to their modelling techniques, etc. And this was something that I saw and I particularly liked and thought it was worth replicating. Hopefully you can just about see on that Mark III coach the tilt there. It certainly does help the impression of the rolling stock running over the layout. It really gives that authentic feel. So that will come slightly more apparent when I actually show you some running shots a little bit later on in this video. But for now, we'll move on and have a look at some of my new rolling stock that I've acquired over the last couple of months. Okay, so the first new addition to the layout is this Class 57 locomotive. I previously not owned a Class 57 locomotive as I haven't had any rolling stock for Freightliner 57 to pull in essence. The era that I model, the Class 57s were around just in Freightliner livery, and I think there was one in Porterbrook livery that was rocking around. But it was primarily these Class 57s in Freightliner livery. Now, as you'll know, if you watched the last month's layout update, I've acquired a rake of nice intermodal wagons, and this locomotive is absolutely perfect for those. So this locomotive is factory fitted with sound. I managed to get this for quite a decent price actually. It was £160 fitted with sound, and if you compare that to the price of, say for example, a current Hatton's Class 66, which is I think it's about £160 brand new, without any form of DCC. That shows you how much of a bargain that was really. So I haven't done anything with the sound other than just upgrade the speaker to one of Richard Croft at Roads and Rails double iPhone speakers, which greatly improves the sound on the locomotive, and I will show you that running a little bit later in some running shots. Overall, I'm really pleased with this loco. I've weathered it up. I've noticed its number is 57007 and its name is Freightliner Bond. I'm assuming the 007 and Bond thing isn't a coincidence, but there you go. I think that's come out quite nicely, and hopefully you'll agree that this does and will look fantastic at the front of my intermodal rake. So the next addition to the layout was this Bachmann Class 37 number 37702, which represents a heavyweight Class 37 in Transrail livery. Now, this model was actually originally part of the twin pack that Rails Express magazine released, Rail exclusive, sorry, and I don't think you can get them very readily anymore. Anyway, one of these come up second hand. One of my friends, Greg Marshall, of various different layouts, was selling this loco at a fairly decent price, so I thought I'd have it. It's one that I'd always fancied, but never managed to get my hands on the twin pack. They normally run at about £300 plus at the moment for some reason, so I managed to get this one on its own at a reasonable price. So when it arrived with me, it was absolutely box fresh, perfectly clean and new out the box. One of the things I've noticed with these Rail exclusive limited edition packs is Bachmann seemed to cake them with grease, so I had to give it a really good clean before I could do anything much with it. As you can see now, it's no longer box fresh, it's actually been weathered, so I will just talk you through some of the features that I've added to this locomotive. So one of the things I've done here is add the depot plaque removal scars, as you can see, which I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. I wanted to do this, wasn't quite sure how to go about doing it, so after a bit of experimentation, this is what I've ended up with, and I think it looks quite nice. Now, the locomotive, as supplied, comes with the older style warning flashes. From the period that I run, we have the newer style warning flashes, so I've added those. And then the locomotive has had its front end detailed. I have also been in touch with one of my favourite suppliers, Fox Transfers, and got an etched nameplate for the locomotive. And I've weathered it throughout, and this is now one of my favourite locomotives on the layout. I think it looks really nice, represents a proper South Wales Class 37, getting towards the end of its life, proper workhorse. So I do love this model now, and you'll see this running at the head of my engineers' trains quite regularly. I'm hoping to get a little bit more speed matching done using JMRI at some point, and hopefully then I can have it double heading with some other bits and pieces on steel trains. So that's the locomotive, and I will move on to what I think is going to be the last edition. Now, when it comes to model railways, if there's one thing that doesn't really excite me, it's diesel multiple units. I like to spend my money on locos, noisy diesels that look good and dirty and like they've worked hard. Multiple units is something that I don't really like to part with my money for, but this came up at a really good price. It's second hand from Frysing Hall Model Railways, and it only cost me £72, which in this day and age is really, really good for a multiple unit. All I've done to this at the moment is just weather the underframe, and these units, they're Centro units, was the company that run the trains. They used to carry yellow ploughs. This particular unit carried a yellow plough based on the research photos that I've done, so I painted the supply plough yellow and fitted that, and that looks quite nice. The unit's fitted with lights throughout, which is a nice touch. It's not something that I have on my other 150, which is an Arriva one. So this is the later style tooling with the lower profile motor, and I'm really pleased with it. Looks quite nice, and yeah, you'll see this running around the layout fairly regularly. And like I said, at £72, it was realistically too good a bargain to leave. So yep, I've got myself that, and that is pretty much the last addition to the layout at the moment. I'll just quickly zoom in on that a bit so you can see the work that's been done. I think one of the things I do like about this model the most is the yellow plough on the front. I think it gives a different sort of face to the locomotive or unit compared to its other counterparts with just the black ploughs. So yeah, something different, slightly interesting, but I think one day I might see if I can get some DCC sound fitted to that just to add a bit more character to it. Like I said, multiple units aren't the most exciting things in the world, but they're functional, and if you've got a layout based in the same sort of region that I have, you need multiple units because they are the mainstay of the passenger stock. So that draws today's video to a conclusion. I hope you've enjoyed the video and the layout update. I'm going to be back with something as soon as possible. I'll continue to work on the layout at a fairly decent pace as we've got time in our hands at the moment. I hope you found the running session enjoyable as well. It's probably the most lengthy running session that I've bothered to film so far for the channel, so with any luck I'll get some more done and showcase you most of the fleet. Anyway, I hope you're all keeping safe. Speak to you all soon, and thanks very much for your support as always. Cheers now, bye bye.